Well, we finally got a nice day. Looks like I get a chance to do the roof, or I finally had have a couple of days in a row to redo the roof of my shed. As you can see right now, there's a, I put a tarp on it because I realized there was a pretty serious leak in the middle of the winter time, which is no time to be doing anything having to do with the roof on the shed. So I decided to just temporarily stop the rain from coming in and put it off to summertime. So here we are, nice hot day, getting ready to start, and just prepping it out. Need to take that tarp off first, take those 1x2s off that are holding the tarp down, and then actually use the tarp to probably catch most of the roofing I strip off of it after that. So what I'll probably use here is I'm going to use this pry bar to get this 1x2 off. It was a pretty good temporary solution over the winter time, which I don't want to do my roof. So here I am, and we'll go ahead and tackle this and get this get this taken off. So all I do is kind of stick this underneath here, and unfortunately I need both of my hands, so I'm going to take a hammer and give it a little whack on the top and pry it off. Actually, so now that I have this here, I actually have it nailed down here. I'm going to go ahead and pry it off. It comes off pretty easy. I got the rest of them to pry off as well down here. So I'm going to pry off all of these the same way and take the tarp off. So I got the tarp off. Looks like the roof is pretty rugged. Probably should have done this maybe a couple years ago, but I was trying to hold off as long as I possibly could. I guess like anybody does when they're a homeowner. So I'm going to go ahead and then strip this roof off next. So for that, I'm going to actually, it's always good to put a tarp down so that when you strip the roof off, that you don't have shingles all over the place and you can't haul them to the dump or get rid of them very easily. So a tarp will make it pretty simple to first strip one side off and then the other side off. And after I get done stripping off the roof, then I can just go ahead and take it, throw it in the back of the truck, and haul it to the dump. One thing you definitely want to be cognizant of is what is holding the shingles on. I suspect that there's staples that are these shingles. I think are stapled on. So these are one of these sheds that I bought, I think, over at Home Depot or something like that a long time ago, and somebody came and installed it. So I suspect that they don't even use roofing nails, so that won't be a big deal. But just make sure that whenever you're whenever you're working around this stuff and you have nails in the ground, that your tarp and everything else catches as much as possible. I'm not really worried about that right now because I think, again, I have staples, so staples aren't as brutal because they kind of tend to stick to the shingle a little bit. But if you do have roofing nails, you don't want to leave them in the yard and have somebody step on them or something like that. So, or even, not be careful with them and not dispose of them properly and haul them out, and some get scattered all over the street, and all of a sudden everybody's getting flat tires. So, always something to think about. Just make sure that you're cognizant of that and pretty careful about that. I know that they have some kind of magnet or something or other. You can go around there and run a magnet across, the grass and everything else if you have your shed around grass where you need to pick that stuff up. So to get up there the right way, I kind of made a makeshift scaffold here. You guys can decide whether or not this is safe or not. I'm fairly safe in what I do. I would suggest that if you guys have scaffolding, use it. I don't have access to scaffolding, so what I used was a 2x12 on here. And I thought I got a pretty decent 2x12, but unfortunately there was a twist in it, so it wasn't really sitting flat. So you can see I got a piece of 1x2 here. You can see it's a little bit rickety, but if I stick the 1x2 underneath here, kind of make sure that it's not going to rock while I'm actually up there standing on it. So again, make sure that you guys are at least trying to be somewhat safe on this. I have it about halfway. I'll probably move it just a little bit more inward to be able to accommodate the weight on here, and I want to make sure that thing doesn't actually move around too much on there. It's pretty solid though. It's not. I don't think it's going to move around very much. But I'm going to constantly take a look at it as I'm over there taking the shingles off. Tool I'm going to be using today, you guys can see, pretty standard. Kind of like a hoe, but it's like but it's, you know, I used it to cut out. It's good to strip shingles off. I used it before when I did another roof, so it worked fine. I definitely recommend using one of these things. Makes it a lot easier to strip it off. Again, I'm dealing with staples, so it's not going to be that bad. I actually decided that, you know, now that I'm starting to pull nails out and other things, that I keep a container out there just to make sure that when I do pull nails out, I mean, it's a slow, tedious process, but better to put a nail in a container than to have it in your tire later on. So I'm just pretty careful about that, or in somebody else's foot. So keep that in mind. So as you can see, definitely staples. So now I have the tedious job of getting all these staples out one by one. So I'm going to take a hammer and actually just try to pry these things out. Use something, a pry bar or anything else will work, but if you got a hammer, normally that'll take it straight out without a problem. So just make sure, again, if you're prying these things out one by one, that you have, you know, some kind of container to put it in, just so it doesn't get stuck in people's feet. The one other thing I will say is that when you're working on this stuff, again, this stuff comes out, you know, pretty easily once you get a hammer or something, or a pry bar underneath it. If you guys do have roofing nails, it's actually a lot easier, because most of the time in the past when I've had, you know, this is the first roof I've ever had to work on that had staples in them, but I guess that's the way sheds are made. So most of the time that tool up there, you know, once you pry it up, will usually pull the roofing nail straight up, so you don't have the problems. But usually staples are a lot more difficult to pull off, because you know, they break off, or the shingles actually break and they'll pull the whole thing off. So tediously I'll be working on this thing, trying to pull it out one by one. Well, looks like we have a little bit of a problem. Looks like some of the water got enough to do some damage, and actually rotted some of this wood out. So if you look at some of this wood right here, that's really soft up here, so I can pretty much tear a hole in it. So looks like I'm gonna have to head out to the hardware store and buy some plywood to replace this section right here. Rest of it looks okay. This will be the one section, but I guess, you know, you got to expect that if you get some water coming in and the roof goes bad, some parts of it are going to kind of bite the dust. So we'll get going with that one. Well, I removed the sheathing on the side that was kind of rotted out. Turns out, under closer inspection, that I have a ton of problems on this side too. So this one I'm not going to take completely out, because you know, some of it's okay. I'm actually going to cut part of it out here. You can see where that area is pretty rotten over there. So I'm going to cut this section out. So I'm just going to use I snapped the chalk line right here. You guys can probably hopefully see the chalk line here. And really, it's not that hard to do. There's actually, you guys can see over there that the rafters, I measured them out, and they're 24 inches apart, as is pretty standard everywhere, especially for like a shed type application. So my plan is really right here is to go ahead. I measure it out 48 inches from the end of this thing, which puts me right in the middle. Will put me right in the middle of that of the actual rafter here. And luckily there's no nails on it, because you want to be careful when you're cutting using a circular saw like I intend to do. There's no nails right on that track that I'm going to cut on, so I'm for the most part okay. So I'm going to go ahead. Hey, make sure when you guys are sawing, always use eye protection, and for me, I use gloves as well, just in the event something weird happens. Not that it would save you from a saw blade or anything like that, but It's always better safe than sorry. In the event that some of you don't know what a chalk line is, it's pretty simple. This is a chalk line. I can pull this line right here out there, which is what I did from the top of where I measured it to be 48 inches to the bottom where I measured it to be 48, and I stretched it across there. There's actually chalk in here, so if you look over here, most of you probably already know about this, but I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew what a chalk line is. This is probably one of your greatest tools when you're out like working on things. Being able to put a quick line down on what you're supposed to cut, and other things as well. I use it as well for the roofing to get the first row of shingles down, and I'll kind of run through that as well, how to use a chalk line for that. So I don't slice through the rafter with my circular saw. What I do is I actually use the wood that I purchased to replace this. It's about a ½ inch. It's about the same as the one I'm pulling off of there. So I'm using that to actually set the depth, so I don't go cutting through the rafters. That's the last thing you want to do is actually cut into the rafters. So I set the depth just exactly what I need to get to get that piece out. So just a quick note regarding kind of clean up the corners and everything else. When you put a circular saw in and you make a flat cut like this, and you don't want to obviously notch the rafter too badly here. This area right here, you don't want your blade to run all the way in here to this area, because obviously that'll cause some problems. So you're going to have a little cleanup to do here. Wood chisel is probably the best way to do it. Obviously, I suffer from the same problem my father had when I was a kid. Was that some of my tools that are around, like my wood chisel and stuff like that, I can't seem to find it, so it's just not there. So you kind of use whatever you can get. You can use an X-Acto knife if you want, or a screwdriver works pretty good. I just hammered a couple times with a screwdriver and kind of get it out of the way in the corners, and it actually works pretty decent. So you got to do with what you have. So it works pretty well. You can see I put a couple of nails also down to hold this to hold the piece into the wood right here. Probably put a couple more as well, but that's good to hold it for now. I'm going to go cut the plywood for both of these, for both this area here and for the area down there, and I'll go ahead and install those as well. So I already show you how to set you can leave the nice thing about cutting this now is you already set the depth for the saw blade for when you do your actual cut on the wood. So you're good to go. So we got the new plywood installed on here, and we're ready to start the process of putting some roofing felt on the actual roof. The one thing I want to say is initially when I pulled the shingles off it had no roofing felt underneath it. I guess that's kind of a cheap way of doing it, but I mean, I would definitely recommend using roofing felt underneath, because it does provide an extra barrier, so that if there's shingles that blow off or something weird happens with your roof, that you still have at least a layer of protection that's going to provide something versus nothing. So roofing felt is a good thing. We're going to actually just staple it on. I'm just using like and you can use probably any stapler, but I'm on the Ryobi battery system, so it makes sense for me to get stuff that's Ryobi, and it works. This Ryobi stuff has worked pretty well so far for car related stuff, and this will be my first chance to try out the stapler, so we'll see how that works. I don't get paid by Ryobi. I'm just a person that bought it over at Home Depot. Well, the roofing felt is on. All it needs to be going on next is going to be the shingles. So unfortunately the sun is setting, and we're supposed to get like 5 straight days of rain, so I'm actually going to put the tarp back on it until I get a nice day to do it in the near future. If you're working by yourself sometimes, you got to be able to do chalk lines by yourself. So what I did is I actually took the chalk line. You guys can see the chalk line going all the way down there. I put nails in after I measured it. The first row of shingles is going to go 11 inches from the bottom. And I also had to put a couple of them. You might not be able to see the nails from here, but I put some nails in the top of them when I snapped the lines. And I'll go over there in a second and show you what I did. So what I did here was I actually, if you guys can see, I snapped 2 lines 6 inches apart. And actually what I did, you guys might not be able to see it, but there's a couple of nails that I used up there to hold the chalk line. Because when you're working by yourself, it's difficult. So, well, it's not really difficult. You just got to plan ahead. So I have a chalk line there. And basically, there's 2 different lines. The line that's going horizontal across the bottom of it is 11 inches from the drip edge. So that's important. There's an inch overhang for the shingles on that side. There's also going to be an inch overhang on this side here. So what I did is, because the shingles are actually 36 inches wide, I measured one at 35 here. It's going to go up on one line, and one that is 29. And basically, I'm going to show you guys, you know, when you alternate the actual the shingles, you guys will see what I mean at that point, because you're going to have to trim some off anyway. But if you need to set one at 35 inches and the other one at 29 if you're using 3 tab shingles that are 36 by 12. So keep that in mind. That's pretty important. Well, I rented a coil nailer and a compressor from Home Depot. It's pretty reasonable. It's actually under 80 bucks a day. So I plan on being done today with all the shingles. So if you don't want to swing a hammer, all you need to do is pick up that nailer. And you can usually buy a box of these nails, or you can look around on Craigslist sometimes and find people that are trying to get rid of a box of nails or half a box of nails if you're doing something small like a shed. So it comes in pretty handy. So it's not that bad. This is basically an electric one. They do have gas powered ones as well if you're working on some place that's way out in the middle of nowhere and you have no access to electricity. You can also get a gas compressor as well. So either way is fine. And I'm just gonna start putting the shingles down on the other side where I already put already snapped those lines, and I'll show you how that goes. So the first one I put down, you can see I lined it up with a line. It's upside down. The shingle's actually upside down. And I'll show you why that's important to put the first layer down that way, because the next layer is going to go right over the top, and it's going to be right side up. And these here in between here, you'll be able to see that the bottom side will have that. It'll be covered on the bottom, and it'll match the rest of it. If you put the white on the bottom on the, or whatever color it is on the bottom side, it won't match the rest of the bottom row. Will look a little messed up if you alternate the tabs like that with white on the bottom. It'll just look kind of strange. That's why on the bottom part that goes over the drip edge, it's really important to actually get to make sure that you're getting the right thing. So I lined up the first one with a 29-inch mark and with the 11-inch mark on the top, and put it in there. I put a few nails. Got an extra one there because a bonus nail, as I call it, because it was the start of the coil feed, so sometimes that happens. I have to knock it in with a hammer. But that's pretty much it. You put one in next to every tab. So you guys can see where there's one there with the tab. There's going to be a little bit of overhang that needs to be trimmed off, but I'll show you how to do that in a minute. So as you can see, the second one I put down right side up, and I actually aligned it with the 35-inch mark. So there's going to be a little bit of overhang once I put it down. There's actually only an inch when you get to that part of it. So I went ahead and nailed down. Just keep in mind when you're nailing it down that you're actually nailing it down right, where the tabs are. Where the tabs are separated. So if you look down here, the last one didn't quite make it on there. It's about an inch overhang. So obviously I did the best I could with that, and got it got it about like maybe 2 inches from the edge. So I'm going to go down, put all of these down right side up, and you can see now why you wanted to put the first layer down upside down. Is because as you get further up, you see these the actual lines in here. That's how all the rest of them are going to look. And if you don't put that the first layer down upside down, it's going to look a little funny. You're going to see this white underneath, and all the rest of them will have the dark brown. So remember, first layer goes down upside down, second one right side up, and it's offset by about 6 inches. But make sure you compensate for that 1 inch overhang on the edges, on the sides, and on the drip edge on the bottom. So now that we have the first layer down, the bottom layer down, all the way down to the end, it gets a lot easier because at this point you don't really have to snap any lines. There's a gauge on the bottom of the nailer that will set you up so that you don't really need to snap any lines. I mean, you can if you want to go up like every 5 inches or whatever it is, but it's a lot easier not to use it just because the gauge is so accurate on the bottom of the gun, just as long as you have it adjusted correctly. But show you how this works here. So the next one, the second row I'm putting up is going to be on the 29-inch mark. You guys can see now how it offsets. If you look over here, the tab's actually offset now. So it's really pretty easy to do. With one hand, it's kind of difficult to show you, but I'm going to try to see if I can do this with one hand. I guess I don't really remember how to use the gauge on the nail gun, so I actually just gave up and snapped that chalk line every 5 inches going up. And basically, that's all you need to do. If you guys figure out how to use a gauge, you're better off, but I couldn't figure out how to use a gauge anymore. Maybe some of these things are set up for some of the new roofs that aren't 3-tab type shingles. So anyhow, safest way, just snap a couple of lines. So I'm going to go straight down the roof every 5 inches and lay these shingles down. So, but it's a lot easier than swinging a hammer if you do use like an air nailer. So a little bonus from Home Depot to kind of help out. And again, under 80 bucks for the rental. So not doesn't absolutely kill the bank. Well, as you can see, I actually finished up the roof the other night, and I didn't end up really taping anything as far as going up to the top and finishing it off. So I'm going to walk through exactly how to do that and put the cap on. You guys can see the cap that's on top of it. I'm going to walk through how to cut the shingles up to make the cap for it. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about cutting off the shingles at the edge of the roof as well, because that's pretty critical. The one thing you want to do is when you get done doing the roof and shingles are hanging over the edge, if you guys get a good breeze going, you guys can run into problems where the wind actually tears the shingles, and you definitely don't want that. So it's better to if you guys know that you're going to have a storm or something's going to blow in a couple days, whatever, to get it trimmed up right away and not leave it hanging over the edge of the roof. Because if you do that again, torn shingles, having to go back and try to replace that after they're all nailed down, it's a real pain, pain in the backside. So probably something to avoid if possible. So in the last little segment, you guys remember that there were two, in addition to the horizontal lines that we snapped 2 vertical lines, and one of them was at 35 inches going all the way up to the top of the roof, and then one was at 29. And the reason for that was that that was going to give us basically an inch overhang at the edge, which is right here at this corner right here. So that was that's fairly important, I guess, to make sure that we have an inch overhang. And when we went up this first, you guys remember, and this is important, The bottom row, the first part of it was actually put in upside down so that we could match these lines, and they were the same color as the lines that go all the way basically up the roof. So that's important as well. So the bottom layer of that first row that you put across is done upside down, and then you put it on top of it. And one is put in at the 35 with the inch overhang, and the other one is at 29, a little bit further back. So you're going to probably have about 7 inches of overhang over the top. So those are going to basically you're going to have to trim those back again. So when you get done with the roof, I'm just going to hold a couple of these here. But important thing to know is, like, when you get to the edge of it, you go up. What it's going to look like is you'll have the piece that's 1 inch hanging over the edge of the roof. It's just 1 inch hanging over the side, and then you're going to have another piece that sticks out probably about, again, like 7 inches, or actually it's like 6 inches here. So when you have that the 6 inch overhang, what you want to do is just go ahead and trim that off. And when you do trim it off, you want to trim it off from the back side, from the underneath. And you can do that just by using basically a razor knife. And the razor knife, basically, you guys have seen these before. You just take one of these razor knives and you score the edges underneath. You guys can take the edge of this thing and just cut it even with this razor knife. Score it from the bottom in a straight line, and once you get that, you get it cut on a straight line, you can basically bend it and break it right where you scored it. So pretty easy to do. Just in a straight line and aligned with the next shingle up, you basically cut it, and then that's going to be, I guess, a 1 inch overhang as well. So it'll work out perfectly after you're done doing, basically the roof up to the top. So, again, you don't have to do it the same day you're doing it. But if you are expecting winds, I would do it, just because I've had situations in the past where when I was roofing something, I had a situation where I actually had some shingles torn off, and you don't want to have to deal with that because, like I said, you're going to have to pry some out, replace some shingles, and then trim them up anyway, and that's kind of a pain to do. It's not impossible. Stuff happens sometimes, but if you can prevent it, I would probably go that route versus not doing it. So just keep that in mind. I think that's pretty important. But I'm going to walk through actually going up to, going to the top, and then how to do the actual top next, and maybe talk a little bit about the other side that's hanging over as well. So you guys can see that this is the other side of the actual roof that I trimmed back already as well. But this is going to be the side. The first one I showed you is going to be pretty easy because, again, it's already just overhanging 1 inch. So you're going to trim every other shingle off to match that 1 inch overhang. You're going to basically trim like 6 inches off. This is going to be different because depending on how wide your shed is, it can really be, what you're going to trim off is going to be, you're going to have to trim every single shingle off of this side because it's going to be hanging over probably, maybe it could be random. It could be hanging over 20 inches. It could be hanging over 15 inches or whatever it is. But you're going to have to trim every single one of them off at about 1 inch before you get there. So you guys can kind of see what I did here. You guys can look underneath here. I did the same thing. I scored it with that knife, with a razor knife, and I basically bent it up, and I basically just went straight up the side of it and trimmed it off with 1 inch to spare underneath there. Obviously I could have done a slightly better job. You can see where it was a little crooked at times, but it's good enough. It doesn't have to be perfect. But you want to have at least 1 inch hanging over. You can have 2 inches if you feel more comfortable with that, but 1 inch overhang is standard. So if you put a good score in the bottom of the shingles, you can just tear them off one by one. Just go straight down the line and just score the shingle, and then basically bend it up and just break it off, and you should be good to go. Just make sure you score it pretty well, so you're not trying to bend something that's not scored, and it doesn't break in a straight line. So keep that in mind. Score it with the razor knife, and just go ahead and bend it up. So you guys can see the last row that I put up that went up over the cap. You probably can't tell that well from here, but you guys can see that this last row right here, I basically went up over the cap. If I could pull this up just a little bit, I guess. Let me see if I can pull this up without totally destroying it. Well, it looks like it's already sealed back down again, so I guess not. But if you follow this piece up right here, it basically goes all the way up here, and you can maybe see a little bit underneath here, but it's bent over the top. So I put the usual nails in, again where we normally nail them, right where the in between the tabs. Probably about, I guess it was 4 nails, one on the edge, just about maybe an inch in or something like that, a little further than an inch in, just so you can it'll be adhered at least to the edge of the roof, and it's not going to go flying off. And then one next to one of the tabs here, probably someplace up underneath here, one over there, and one next to the last tab, or the edge of the shingle. So that's a standard practice, right? I went ahead and I bent it over the top, and then I kind of matched on this side. I put a nail right in the same spot on the overhang as the other one, and you guys can see where it overhangs right here. You guys see this part right here? That's where I bent it over the top, and I basically put can't really tell right here, but I basically put a nail in right on the side after I bent it over the top, and did the same thing to match the nails on the other side. And that really is super important for the top, just to be really tight. You guys can see we get a very tight angle there on the top, which is nice here. And I went all the way down, did that with all of the shingles, put it in on both sides, right? Put it in, nailed it at the top where I normally nail it, and you guys again can see this right here. You guys can see it right here sticking up, and that's bent over the top here and down this way. So right here, that's the shingle that I just showed you. So right here, I put nails on the other side, and I did the entire roof like that. Now my next row, I put the final row on this side as well. You guys can see it underneath here if you're looking. It's right here, coming straight down here like that. And I did the exact same thing. I put in the nails where I normally put them in, right next to the right in between the tabs, and on the edge, and ran it straight down. And on the other side, I folded it over again on that side and pounded it down. So now you have a covering, basically a double covering over the top. You have one that's bent over one way, which I showed you the first one, and one on the second side that I ran straight up, bends over the other side, and I have that nailed in as well. So that once you get done with that, then you're going to put the cap on, and I'm going to show you how to cut the cap, and then how you would put the cap on as well. So this is the cap. You guys can see that pretty easily. It goes straight on down. You can see there's just a little bit of room between like the last row of shingles here and the actual cap itself. So the cap goes straight down on the top of the roof. You guys see that? It goes all the way to the other end. And the cap's important because, again, that will keep the weather out, keeps the moisture out, and it's the final piece of it. Really, I mean, it is one of the most important ones, but this stuff is so great now, these shingles. If you pull those little plastic pieces off on there, after a while when it heats up, it gets so tight that it'll never leak underneath. You guys can see what happened when I tried to pull this up. Like right now, I can't even pull this up right here. This part is already kind of settled down just because of the sun melted it up, and you can't pull it up anymore. So it's a very tight very tight. Actually, it's a watertight fitting there, so that's pretty nice. So you guys see how it goes all the way down. I'm gonna run through real quick how to actually cut up the shingles for the cap, because it's kind of, you know, it's pretty easy to do as long as you have a you know, some kind of straight edge. I like to use a drywall tee or sheetrock tee, just because, you know, you can score it up on the edge, and I'll run through that real quick. So you guys can see I have a drywall T-square. You guys can use anything though. If you guys have just a regular carpenter square, that's fine. I like the T-square because it actually has a little lip underneath it. You can just put down right at the edge of the shingle here. But you can see all you need to do with a T-square is basically put it in alignment with and it's Holly there. She's getting ready to jump over the fence. So all you need to do is basically align this up. You guys can see with the tab, with the difference in the tab here, how I set it up. So what I'm going to do here is I'll just hold this down. I will get this piece right here. This you guys can see I have the it's kind of tough to you get a razor knife here and you score it straight down the middle, right in the middle of where that little in between the tabs there. You guys can see it right there. So I'm going to score that really quickly. See if I can hold this down here. Hold it straight up against the edge. Alright, I guess I'm not going to be able to do it. Anyhow, you hold the T-square up there. I'm going to just do it. I'm going to put this down for a minute and I'm going to pick it back up. But I'm going to score both of these. I'm going to score it right here along, you guys can see along that little line there. And I'm going to score along the other one right here. And I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do with it right after that. All right, so you guys can see that right there in line with the little section in between the tabs, that I actually scored it straight down here. You guys can actually see I used a knife here, use that straight edge and scored it straight down. If you don't even have anything like that, you can still measure it. You can use a ruler. You can use whatever you have, really. These things are basically 12 inches apart, right? So if the only thing you have is a ruler, is you can basically measure on this side of it, 12 inches here, and you can mark a little piece of it, and you can run straight from here. When you can probably use like a Sharpie or something like that, or whatever you want to use, and the mark you have here, and then put that score in. So I scored that portion of it. I also scored this portion of it. It's pretty easy once you get that done to basically just take it and actually, you guys can see that I bent it right on that line right there, and I'm going to bend it right on this line as well, and then voila, it's that simple. Now you have the piece for the cap. That's all it is, actually. So you only need to have these are the pieces that make up the cap. So it's that simple. You basically cut them in thirds. You cut them right along the line in between the tabs, and then you have the cap that you're going to install on the top of the roof. So this is the part of the roof again I was just at here, and this is the side I started on running the cap across. But basically all you need to do, and just imagine like this cap isn't here, but what you do is you just take right in the middle, you basically put the shingle down, you line it up, make sure it's straight, and you put a nail right over here on the tar line, just like on the other one, and then put it on this side as well. So you have one nail on each side. Then you continue. You put the next one on over the top of it, and this is going to cover up the nails now. So the nail that you have down here, you're going to do the exact same thing. You're going to bend it over the top, and then you're going to go all the way down the roof one by one, and put a nail here and put another nail here on this side, all the way down. So here's another one, and it's that simple. Once you get down near the other end, I'm going to run through that real quick, but basically you run straight down, you nail it down, you cover the nails with the shingles, and then you create a nice watertight seal. And believe it or not, once this heats up, like I said, once you take the plastic, well, this one doesn't even have the plastic on. I'm just taking it off earlier. But once the plastic is removed from this, there's a little sheet of plastic that comes off of here. This part of it heats up, and it actually adheres to the shingle that sits on top of it, and it gets really tight. You guys can see what happened here. Again, how tight this is. You can't even really pull this up. So, well, this one you can pull up a little bit, but it is very tight, and water's not going to be coming in. And again, underneath that, remember, there's two of the last layers are overlapped with each other. They hang over the side. You got two sets of nails in it. One on the side closest to the tabs, and one on the other side that's flapping over on the other side. So it goes straight over the top. So you have a lot of reinforcement right on the top. So here we are on the other side. You guys can see where we got down here. It's slightly different on this side. You guys can see, hey, there's like an extra piece on there. So I came all the way down, putting one nail on each side underneath, then covering it up with the next shingle. Then finally you can see where there's a piece hanging over the top. Okay, so I have one shingle one last shingle that goes in faces where the brown side faces the edge of there, and then the other side I actually flipped around the opposite way, underneath, you know, that one that's kind of sticking up a little bit on the top. I flipped it around and started and basically just put it in there and put one on each side of that, and it just happened to line up. You're gonna have to do a little work on that just to make sure you cover up all of the, you know, all of the little tar marks that are on the shingles in the right way, because you might have to cut a little bit of it off or something like that, you know, to make it work, just, you know, so it's not hanging up over the edge. But you guys can see I basically have one piece that hangs over the top, and maybe I can zoom in on that a little bit better. So you guys can see that right there, I have one of the ones that are coming from the side I originated it from, and then one going the opposite direction. Then I just cut one shingle. You know, the one's already cut in a third anyway, right? And I just cut the dark side completely off, and I lay it over the top, and I put one nail on each side just to cover that one seam at the end. And usually you're going to want to do that right at the end, so you don't see it. What I probably will do long term, and what most people do, is you see where the nail is, where I put it in there. I'm going to take a little bit of tar, and I'm just going to put it over the top of that nail just to make sure that that water doesn't leak in beside it. I haven't done anything yet, but I probably will do that maybe in another couple of weeks or so. But really, it's not very hard at all. Again, you know, you start from one side of the shed, work all the way across with the cap, and then right here you flip the last one around, turn it around, start at the edge, and work it back, cut it off, trim it up a little bit, and make sure that you've covered it all, and basically score it from the underneath again, right where the tar is, and break it off, and then basically just nail it right over the top of it. Put one nail on each side, and it'll hold it down, and it'll stay watertight as well. So really, that's it in a nutshell. Once you get done with that, you know, you have a shed that's going to last another few years. These things have 30-year warranties. God knows if they actually work, but maybe mine will last longer, because I think I only got 20-something years out of it, because I actually used some, you know, I used the roofing felt underneath it, and that does help with moisture barriers. And if you have any issue with condensation happening underneath the actual shingles after it rains, so that's huge. You know, it's a moisture barrier is it's awesome. And so far, you know, for the last couple of rains, you know, it's been super tight. Now my tools aren't getting wet anymore, so you know, what's not to like about that? So you guys have a great day, and if you guys enjoyed this video, just hit the like button. Thanks.